My name is Thomas John Carlson. I curated a show here at the Toyeaters space in Jersey City. Title of the show is People, Places, Things, and involves 6 artists that all went to the New York Academy of Art, and I was very interested in having a show where I was kind of exposing Jersey City to these artists, but also kind of exposing the artists to Jersey City. This is the artist ANTONIA ANDRIOTI. She is a Greek artist. She's an oil painter, but she also mainly has been working with monotypes recently. A process where an ink is applied to a plexiglass surface and then wiped away from it and then put through a print. The reason I sort of became intrigued with her work for the show had mainly to do with these images of kind of still lifes and of narratives. Over here, she has some smaller work, and then back here on this back wall. This is something that I saw initially her doing with oil painting, where she had these really compelling kind of mysterious, ambiguous scenes, and you weren't quite sure what was going on, but there was like an emphasis on objects within the scene, and that was a big part of the things, as a part of the people, places, things. This here is a painting by David Pettibone, who I became interested in. He mainly does figurative work, but I was really impressed by the still life, or this landscape that he had done, primarily because it really pushes just the texture, paint as texture. I mean, it has a great surface to it, and for me at least, it kind of goes beyond just being a typical kind of a landscape. This piece here is a piece by HURD. I became kind of interested in this one just because it's sort of, I hadn't seen anyone paint, these little pooties for a while. And I just kind of like how she sort of carved up the composition. It's interesting because you'd think it would kind of come off as just sort of a study of something from the past, but to me it kind of, it seemed appropriate. This piece here and that piece actually are paintings of mine. They're kind of a new thing for me, where I become interested in landscape. I'd always sort of wanted to do a series where I could kind of just focus on, kind of the Hudson River School painters and this idea of the color and the atmosphere, and kind of creating a space and really pushing it, but then maybe putting something in it like this plane streaking across to sort of anchor it in this time. This piece is called The Flyover. This painting is actually kind of unfinished. I felt it appropriate for the show, but the reason I put this parking lot in here is just because my memories of going to Glacier National Park. It was just, I was really young, and I remember we pulled up and parked in the parking lot, and there were like goats all in the parking lot, like these mountain goats just kind of jumping around in like these piles of snow that were like 30, 40, 50 feet tall. So I mean, these are really like similar to the paintings that I've done before, but more about paintings that some of the paintings I'd done before because they were very personal, but these, opposed to happening kind of at present day, are kind of reflections on the past, and that really changed the sort of technical narrative, and my studio practice has really changed with these. This here is KARL. He also has these self-portraits that I wanted to put in to play off of to Matthews. I kind of like how these two play off each other. He also has done these studies of these cows actually out in France, and I thought this was really funny because it's kind of like this narrative, where it's like a portrait of a cow. And sort of like, well, what's he up to? I mean, they're kind of like studies, but in the same respect, it's like, it's almost telling a story from piece to piece. So I really, kind of think in a way it sort of transcends this idea of just a painting of an animal or an animal portrait. It's really kind of just, at least for me, bringing in something new. This here's Matthew Miller. He's been painting these self-portraits. These two are self-portraits. This is a portrait of a friend. The thing that I found most striking about his work is just, I mean, self-portraiture has been a part of painting for a really, really, really long time. I mean, probably, well, as long as painting has, and oil painting. To make a self-portrait today when there's so many, you know, through painting is interesting for me, because it kind of like, there's so many other ways to document yourself. I mean, either through MySpace or photography or video or whatever. I mean, there's so many different ways to sort of preserve yourself in some sort of art form. And for me, it really kind of like, it's so stark and so kind of almost violent in these paintings to me. I find them very violent. That I kind of feel like it's doing something with paint that these other mediums can't do. And that's why I feel that portraiture and self-portraiture is still, as painting, as oil painting, is still incredibly valid, because it's, for one, really unsullied by certain forms of commercialism. You know, an oil painting, you don't see it in a magazine, you don't see it in the billboards. So it's kind of like people don't expect it. You know, people don't expect to see a painting. So when they see a painting, and when it's a portrait of somebody, I feel like for the viewer, it can be anything. It can be something else. It's unattached. So I really found those appropriate for this show. And here's another one of Karl Koett's animal pieces. I found this one hysterical, because it's just sort of this, you know, it's this really pathetic dog. I mean, it's like, you know, he's digging his head in the ground, but in the same respect, he took this fence and he decapitated the dog. He took off his limbs. I mean, the dog's a paraplegic, you know, basically, and for that reason, it kind of takes this idea of animal portraiture to this new level for me. I really think that it's one of the strongest pieces and one of the best examples of his work in this show, that kind of really kind of what I was initially going after when I sort of decided to put this thing together.